Good evening and welcome. Chris Upton in the house. Chris Upton in the house. How's Sue feeling this week?
Fine, better.
Fine, better, she says, Karen.
I'm alive.
Karen, it was a waste of freaking time. I dug the hole. I was trying to save money for the funeral. I thought she can stay here with me in the rabbit pen. I'll bury her in the rabbit pen. And she made it through the night. But by God, it was bloody hard work. Anyway, there's enough of us talking about our health issues. Let's get on about talking about dogs, shall we? And drinking. The drinking game. I don't know if we're going to get that many people in the house this evening because there's football on. Is football more important than the Chris Upton show, the Corleone Gundogs show? Graham Allison, obviously not. Michael McLaughlin obviously likes rugby and not football. Steve Pace, he hasn't got a frigging clue about football, rugby, or dancing. I don't know. I reckon he's a good dancer. Julian's got some freaking competition, hasn't he? All of a sudden, everyone. Did you see the freaking latest toy for your dog? The latest toy for your dog? Eh? Poor old Jules. They're trying to promote him to second place. He'll never be second place in our rule. Like the boys say. If you are lucky enough to get one of Julian Lee's squirrel skins and you look after it, the way he nurtures it, treats it, preps it, wraps it up, sends it to me, I send it to you at no expense to yourselves because you've proved yourself, you've gained it, you've deserved it. We don't just give them away like willy-nilly. But guess what? He's doing a special limited edition with a head on and two eyes. And then we have Tracy Dodds, a regular look. We have Frank Casey, a regular. Peter Piper, regular. Karen's in the house. He's a regular. Michael Cloud, good evening, guys. Kevin Polhill. And at the end of the day, we've only got 24 people in here. But by the time we finish, and by next week, we will have had 300 people watch the live feed. Now, they don't have to watch the live feed. They're every week. Sometimes we talk such shit, we confuse the hell out of them. Other times, we actually have an intellectual debate, and I thoroughly watch it back and think, yeah, not because I'm vain, not because I like looking at myself, because I like assessing it and thinking, am I the clown on the internet, the Gundog clown, or am I actually value for money? Do I give you entertainment? But what I'm having to think about is to keep up with the film set, the film crew trainers out there on the internet. I'm going to have to bring in a makeup artist, wardrobe, a chauffeur, and somebody who can edit my work, edit my videos, edit my comments, edit my write-ups, because this is a one-man band other than Super Sue in the background, as we all know. She gets involved on a Wednesday, she enjoys it, she interacts with all of you, but you've never seen her. And so it's Secret Sue, unless you've come here, and then you know what she's really like. And because of the warts and how butt ugly she is, she doesn't want to be on camera. Honestly, I'm a brave guy, aren't I? I'm a brave guy. But even though she's but ugly, got warts, coughing non-freaking stop, do you know what she did today? We went down the rabbit pen to look because I bought one of these baths for vets and grooming, not children. So before anyone says anything, grooming the dogs. So a proper grooming parlor, bath with shower head and all the gimmicks and ladders for the dogs to get into, stainless steel. The dog's bollocks, where one of these groomers who thought, one of these girls who thought that they would take over the world and become a dog groomer, didn't realize how difficult it is when you're trying to groom dogs if you have no experience, because the pet world say we do not give discipline, we only give rewards. You try giving a dog a treat while you're clipping it and it's biting you. At the end of the day, there's so many groomers who come into it with this wonderful idea that I'm going to be a dog groomer because I love working with animals. And then you do work with animals, you see what animals are like. They're not forgiving, they're not rewarding. Some of them are spoiled little brats who do nothing but bite you. So you have to learn to handle the dog. And so if you want to become a what we call a professional, and a lot of them out there, groomers, it's a course. And you have to pass the course. Just because you've passed the course doesn't mean you can groom dogs in your sleep and know what to look for, the movement and the body movement and the eye contact, and read the dog. Just because you can cut hair doesn't make you an hairdresser, does it? Eh? Basic animal husbandry has gone by the wayside for the sake of profit. Exactly. Spot on. Lovely comment. Where on the internet are they talking about it? We are on here, aren't we? We talk about the warts and alls of dog training. And at the end of the day, as you can see, someone said, oh, he's got a t-shirt with boss written on it. That's because my wife thinks she's the boss and I have to keep informing her that I'm the boss. Now, other people would know that that's Hugo Boss. Well, Hugo Boss, like I've said before, he actually made uniforms for the Nazis. I think in the war, I think when we look at the war films, the Nazis look far superior in dress, don't they? But they didn't win, did they? And at the end of the day, you can see my face on here, but you can't see that much in the background. But if I turn the light on, you'd see stuff in the background. Do I really want you seeing stuff in the background? You might see stuff you want to steal. So you might be breaking into my place and thinking, I'm having that cup in the background. Have I got all my awards behind me? Have I got all the trophies and cups behind me if I switch the light on? No. You're in my front room with me, for Christ's sake, everybody. We bring you into our home. This is not a glossy sales channel. But guess what? We all need to make a living. Nigel Moore says, I'm the boss, I asked the wife. That's about right, isn't it, if you think about it? Lynn Thompson's in the house. Good evening to you, Lynn. Nigel Moore's blown his own trumpet again. You wouldn't understand that joke unless you're in our group, and you'd then know that Michael blows his trumpet on a regular basis. Can you say that on a live feed on here? I have stipulated, can I say that? Stipulated that it's not for anybody, not for children. I try and put a limitation on this. Football 22 fairies chasing a bag of wind, as Guy Martin says. Guy Martin wrote a book, Kieran. Do you know what the title of that book says? Do you know? Have you got his book? It's a brilliant read. He's as mad as a freaking hatter, isn't he? If you're not living on the edge, it's not worth living. Have you actually got his book? His book. If anyone wants to buy Kieran that book, because I know Kieran likes his motorbikes, and I don't know about women. I'm not sure if he's into the women. I know he's into his motorbikes and he's scrambling, and we used to call it trials. We used to have trials bikes. You know, posh boys used to have trial bikes. You know, scramble bikes. You lot run around the estate with no registration on. Yeah, he is just box of frogs. He is, but I tell you, entertaining, isn't he? He's entertaining. But I like his passion. I do like his craziness. I like funny people. I like crazy people. I like good-looking women as well. That's one of my downfalls, isn't it, Sue? That's why I ended up with Sue, really, because I went out with a wise man once. We sat in the pub, and I just lost a girlfriend, and she was stunning. And he said, you know, whatever you do, he says, what you need to do, he said, I'm going to give you some word of advice now, he said. And I'm sitting there drinking and feeling very sorry for myself. And you don't want this conversation, really, but he was an older man, and I was listening to him. He said, when you get married, marry the ugliest woman you can find, because no one will want her. I don't know. I'm still alive to you. That woman in the background it's so good. She actually doesn't bite. That is training, everyone. That is training. That takes years and years of mastering. Because guess what? Imagine she was a freaking snowflake.
I've heard it before.
She's heard it before. Brave, says Peter Piper. Brave. She's heard it before. But if I'd not give her that, and then I'd come on here and said that on here, Rumpy Pumpy would be out the window, wouldn't it, for the next 6 years? Because she'd be triggered, wouldn't she? Didn't take the advice, says Michael Block. Oh, Michael, you smooth operator. Didn't take the advice. No, because guess what? They say, what's that thing about a frog? A king can kiss a frog? I don't know. I fucking forget now. I forget. I'm dyslexic, can I? I could probably get mixed up in my head. But I don't want to marry a frog. Imagine sitting there watching Frog, or every freaking day you look at it and think, why did I marry you? I am deeply, madly in love to this day with that woman over there. I'm saddened that she won't come on and entertain you all. Because if she did, I mean, like, let's say Moulin Rouge style, by God, we'd get a following, wouldn't we? We'd get a bloody following if she was doing Moulin Rouge in the background, wouldn't you? Swinging off the chandelier. Hey? Ain't got very high chandelier in here. Obviously, you see everything. She could do it in a onesie. She could do it in a sleep suit instead of a cat suit, like I like her doing it in private. Shut up, Chris, and get back onto training, shall we? Yeah. So anyway, we're going to go back onto training. So we got a number of people in here who are in the group and people who aren't in the group. I did put up a video on YouTube. Did anyone see it? Did anyone see the video with the debate with Ivan? And I'll tell you what, if you did, tell me the lady's name that Ivan was having a debate with this week. The positive only trainer, the positive only trainer who wanted to borrow an e-collar to get a dog off a lake. So come on, anybody on here? Susan, yes, Susan Garrett. Yeah, well done, Graham. Yeah. Now the thing is, let's have a rundown. Let's have a rundown. I put it up in its full entirety in our group, shared it, didn't say anything about it, but put it up for educational purposes. And how many people in here actually listen to it all, or listen to most of it, or even listen to some of it? Just tell me how many people in here actually listen to it. It's really important, this. We're talking for anyone who's not understanding what I'm saying, we're talking about a positive only trainer and a trainer like myself who uses discipline and who will use corrections as well as gameplay. And gameplay is so important. But the negative people who only use positive, their selling technique is anybody who uses discipline is evil, barbaric, a dinosaur. They don't know what they're talking about. They feed off that to promote themselves. So great. At least some people have watched it. And we got quite a number of people in the group who aren't on here anyway. We've got 29 people, but we've got so many more people in the group. Not had a chance. It's a very, very good listen for someone like me to listen to two people debating. And with my knowledge, I can look at the good points and the bad points, and I can decipher and separate that. For somebody who's a complete novice, or someone who's just starting, it could be overload. It could be too much. It can be headache material. But I actually broke down a small part of it and put it up on YouTube, and that's what I wanted to actually talk about tonight. Anybody in the group who actually saw the broken down part that I put up, you would have a tendency to watch that all the way through, because I made it entertaining as well as broke it down to the important points that I thought was important to talk about. But I thought it would be a great subject to talk about tonight on here as a dog, because technically this is a dog training group, isn't it? But we have banter, don't we? And in our Patreon group, I've been asking members, how can we improve? What do you like? What don't you like? I want good feedback. I want positive feedback. I want negative feedback. If you don't listen to negative feedback, you can't go forward, can you? You can't move forward with your skill set of what people want. Do you want glossy videos, well edited videos that are manipulated for viewers' attention to get likes and get views? Or are you interested in the real hardcore dog training? Let's debate it in an honest way, and let's show the good points and the negative points, so it gives you an understanding of what you want. At what point did Ivan push back to where it put Garrett on the back foot and made her question that in regards to fallouts of punishment? I must have dipped out before then. Do you know what? You're right. You're right. I don't think, and I know that I'm not stupid. When I first started watching Ivan, I don't know, 9, 10 years ago, protection sports, and it's not my area, I could see instantly that dog was a genius with dogs. His timing, his movement, the way the dogs are working for him, the focus, the drive, the desire. I thought, wow, there's someone, and I promoted him straight away. before I even came on and started publicly doing all the podcasts and all the stuff. But I was doing that with a number of trainers all over the world that I recommend. One of the trainers I talk about a lot is Gary Wilkes, because Gary Wilkes is a fantastic ambassador for our sport of training dogs, our love of training dogs. Perhaps not everybody's into sports dogs, but his ideology is spot on, in my opinion. Now, you could say, oh, you follow him like a baby. You like him all the time. I don't like everything he does, but I think 99.9% of what he does, I'm well impressed. And I like his attitude. Fuck you. You don't like it. Don't watch it. Simple. I've got the same attitude. If you don't like it, don't watch it. No one's forcing you. But if you go on there and you challenge him, he'll rip a hole in your ass and he'll embarrass you because he's got the knowledge and understanding. I think that's fantastic. Yeah, I know that. I know that aversives. Yeah. But what I'm talking about is I'm talking about debate, and there's nothing wrong with debate, and we need more of it. But if you put your head above the parapet, you've got to be prepared to be shot at. And Ivan kept saying, "Yeah, I'm with you. I understand. And I know why he was saying it, because we do that. What she was saying, she hasn't invented nothing new. What she's doing is using that one small element of what we use, and an important element, and saying she's a better trainer because she doesn't use it. And anybody who uses discipline is a dinosaur and barbaric. And it's obsessional philosophy that they've gone down that gospel of belief. I'm not a great religious person, but if you're happy and it makes you a better person believing there's a God, or following your God, or living off those morals, I'm all for it. Crack on. But guess what? I've not seen many miracles. I think it's a miracle that Sue has not had an accident in a car the way she drives. She drives so sedately and lovely. I'm surprised that people don't catch up with her and hit her. But guess what? I drive fast more than Sue, but I've probably had more little prangs than Sue's ever had. Well, she never had a prank. Touch wood. Touch wood. We've got to say that, don't we? At the end of the day, I've got that extra confidence, but I've got to say, in all the years I've been driving, I've probably had 2 or 3 little small accidents, nothing big, but just backed into something. Oh shit, didn't see that. And I'm confessing now, aren't I? Confessing that I'm not perfect, and that's not on, is it? I shouldn't give away these trade secrets. But my method of training is to help people. If you don't like it, don't follow it. But I think that if she puts up a podcast with Ivan, we have a duty to talk about it if we want to. Simple as that. She is building drive in her dogs to win competition, but when it comes to living with the dogs, she admits she has no control. Exactly, Steve. Spot on, mate. Spot on. But unless you read it, and the difference is Steve's got some understanding, some great understanding of how to train dogs. He's one of our trainers as well. And I only promote trainers who can train to a good standard. But if they're not willing to do their own work, and they're not willing to look and learn from other methods of training, because some of those methods of training that she uses, we use them plentiful, but we don't have to brag about it because we've been using them for years. But do you see me on every dog forum promoting myself? No. If you want to find me, find me. I'm too busy frigging working. How could she run such a professional outfit with as many dogs that she's got, the groups that she's got, the people paying the money she's got, the editing, the quality of the videos, the amount of videos she's putting up? She has got a whole setup behind her. Now she can come on and I'll have a debate with her, and she can tell me, no, I haven't. I do it all on my own. If she does it on her own, she's a freaking genius, because there's not enough hours in the day. Did you watch the recent interview with Michael and Bart Bellin? No, I didn't. No, I haven't seen that one. No, I haven't. Thanks for that. I'll have a look for that one. I watch as much as I can, not because I got nothing better to do in life because I want to be more knowledgeable. And you only become more knowledgeable if you study every aspect of training and bring in your own ideas and learn by your mistakes. But there's nothing better than rolling up your sleeves and getting out there and training dogs. There's nothing better than getting out there and training dogs. She was talking about, I've just shared another video of hers with the group. She was talking about barking dogs, self-rewarding behavior. If the dog wants to go out, it barks, you let it out. Well, why wouldn't you not bark if you're a dog? And she said, it doesn't bother me barking dogs. Barking dogs would drive me freaking mad. Barking dogs would drive me mad. That's my pet hate because I got dogs on the premises all the time. And if dogs were barking non-stop on my premises, that would not be a quality of life for me or Sue, because barking turns into howling. The other thing is that she's not explaining is if you create madness in a dog, high drive madness, attention seeking behaviors, and you're using food all the time, you are going to create a little monster if you don't know what you're doing. It's as simple as that. She was spot on when she said any good dog trainer, top dog trainer, timing is so important. She's spot on, because you can go to a competition and read a dog before it goes to bolt. But guess what? Gary Wilkes, if you take the time to go over to Gary Wilkes and actually see what the conversation between myself and Gary Wilkes was, when I said to Gary Wilkes, your name came up in the podcast, he told me straight away in private, I won't tell you the full message, but he told me straight away in private, that's how I knew straight away who you were talking about. And I didn't name her. I said, there was a podcast with your name that came up. And it was funny that it's such a small world, really, isn't it? Because Gene McDonaldson and Gary's name came up in that podcast. She went to him for a training seminar. Gary Wilkes used to be an aversive dog trainer. He used to use punishment, used to use negatives. He then went over to the clicker side of it, tried it, got very good at it, but realized there was flaws in it with positive only. You can't do it positive only. He has the balls to talk about it. He has the balls to talk about using punishers. He has the balls to talk about the dog's feeling when you use the punisher and why people get triggered with emotions and get so tied down with this false ideology of what they're trying to sell. Haven't we got a right to fight back, but fight back in a civil way, not a bitchy way, not a nasty way? If she saw this, or she saw the clip I put up for, I think 30 minutes clip, broke it down to 30 minutes on YouTube. I tried to be polite, but I tried to give my side of it. That there was some points of it for somebody who is like 10 years into dog training, you would watch that and learn a lot from it, because you would say, yeah, I agree with her there because I've been there and done that and I've achieved that with that, but that you're not going to. And the whole point of it breaks down to it is she couldn't go and do what Ivan does with his dogs, and she couldn't come into my world and do what I do with my dogs. Not to the standard. But anybody can call themselves a gun dog trainer. Anyone can call themselves an obedience trainer, protection sports trainer. Ivan is right at the top of that class of what he's achieved, what he teaches, the following he's got, and the price he demands for giving that information. I'm not. I'm not. I'm down there. I'm down there. I've not achieved world championship status. I've won with dogs. I've shot over dogs. I've schooled people. I've schooled dogs. I've got success. I have been successful in many areas of the gun dog world. But I couldn't put myself in the same category and say, hang on, Ian Openshaw is not as good as me. Ian Openshaw is a master craftsman at what he does. But Ian Openshaw doesn't talk about dog training like I do in public. What you see is not always what you get. No one can take it away from people like Ian, who's been successful. But I don't think in my lifetime we'll ever see anybody as successful as a gun dog trainer and on a winning basis than Ian Openshaw. Does that make Ian Openshaw a better pet dog trainer? I don't think so, because he's not his area of expertise. But could he train a pet dog in his sleep? Yes, of course he could, by using the same methods that he uses to train a gun dog. But he wouldn't be bothered. He doesn't want them people in his life. If you go to Ian Openshaw with a shit dog, he's going to go, it's fucking shit, get rid of it. What the fuck you got that for? He's a straight talker. I can guarantee it. Because he don't need to put up with the shit. But guess what? I don't want to deal with pet people. Because like she said, if you don't put the work in, you don't put the commitment in, and when you give a command, it's got to be followed through, you're wasting your freaking time. You're not going to get a result, whether you use treats, whether you use discipline, whether you use anything. You have to put the work in. But what she did talk about is about drive and about not destroying drive and creating drive. And there's always a compromise in your training. There's always a compromise. No matter what training you're doing, there's always a side effect if you don't quite know what you're doing. You can use too much discipline. It's when to use discipline, how to use the discipline. If we don't teach that and they close their eyes to that because they say we've been there, when technically they've been there and used discipline, but they haven't learned to master discipline. Master it. I read Don't Shoot the Dog. Oh, don't fucking talk to me about Don't Shoot. And don't quite grasp the appeal, especially after admitting after to put on a stove and burn the cat so it doesn't therefore walk across the stove. Don't get me going about that woman. She is a box of frogs as well. A box of frogs. And I'm not being rude when I say as well. I think parts of that lady I shared, I think she's like me, dyslexic. There's that slight bit of madness. But with that madness there is something of a different way of thinking. And I can relate to what she was saying in so many ways and agree with so much of what she was saying. I can also throw so much of it out with the dishwasher water because it just exposed itself. When I say it, I mean the video exposed itself. I wasn't being rude. But she does have a canoe in a toolbox. That's what I'm saying, Steve. I think that Ivan didn't address those issues. I think Ivan was trying to be dead polite because Ivan is trying to bring people together in the dog training world. But yeah, I agree. Oh no, that's Karen Pryor, not Susan. Oh, sorry, Karen Pryor. Sorry, yeah, my head's running. I'm talking. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Sorry. Um, yeah, I know Karen Pryor. Yeah, I was talking about Karen Pryor, but I was talking about Susan Garrett with the video that we were talking about on the other one. Bridge the gap. Ivan is. Yeah, exactly, and that's the whole point. But I'm being honest here, and I don't care if Ivan listens to it. I find Ivan hard work listening to sometimes. If I was paying £10,000 to go to a seminar, Jesus Christ, I'd have to go and have a lie down afterwards because he's in depth as well, but in his own way. But I want it in more layman's terms. So, not because I can't understand deeper psychology. I study all that, but I think that when we're teaching, if you can't keep it simple, then you're not a good teacher because simple training helps people. If you can keep it simple and put it across in layman's terms, then I think that gives the average person a far better grounding of what you're trying to do. And results speak for themselves, don't you? Because like people know, they'll come onto my channel, look at my videos, see people struggling, see the result they get. Let's take Jeff, for instance. He might be on it. I haven't seen his name on here. He's on here, Jeff. Funny enough, someone mentioned something on one of his videos the other day, and I made a comment. Oh, and I took one comment down as well because I don't want people being rude. This is on YouTube. That's had a lot of views, and it was one of his early videos. And somebody said there's been some lovely comments like, by God, I thought my dog was hard. I thought my dog was stubborn. Jesus Christ, there's nothing compared to that one. But guess what? They're going to be so shocked, aren't they? Because the group know how Jeff's dog's coming on and improving and how much better he is. You wouldn't recognize him if we put one of our latest videos up with Jeff's dog and Jeff, you would see the two of them working as a team. You'd see the dog responding beautiful. So there you've got the dog in his state when he's really bad, and people going, bloody hell. But you've got the dog listening eventually on the place board, whatever it was, the video. I mean, I do that many, don't we? But now when we link them together, like I've been chatting with Jeff on the phone, when we link them together and we show the before and the after, by God, the following that you could get from putting that up in public. And that's the important thing, isn't it? These people are selling something so desperate, and yet they're making mega money. I need to make a living, but I'm not on here tonight for monetary gain. I'm on here because I love the game. I love the people I train with. I love the people in my group. I like the like-minded people. We have the odd person every now and again say something that might upset somebody, but guess what? In general, it doesn't happen. We want people to give their opinion. If I stopped everyone giving their opinion and tried to become a dictator, then that wouldn't be right. I want the group to give their opinion. I want novice people to get involved. They don't get a bollocking when they get it wrong. When I say critique this video and tell me what you see, what you can. There's no one out there on the internet doing it. But if I was still doing what we're doing on YouTube, on Patreon, that I was doing on YouTube, I'd be back up in the freaking, 7,000 followers and 3 million views, wouldn't we? I mean, tell me if I'm lying, everyone. If I put everything we've got on Patreon at the moment over to YouTube like we used to have, do you think we'd have a massive following on YouTube? Massive or not? Yes or no, guys and girls? You're dead right, Nigel. Criticism should motivate, not debilitate. Honestly, you can see his arm. You can see his arm. He wants to debilitate the people now. Keep it simple. Matters for sure. Yeah, exactly. Because I know what following I got by giving it for free. Some people want it for free and they're not willing to pay. Well, they'll have to go and watch it somewhere else, won't they? And there's plenty of up and coming, budding so-called dog trainers on the internet that you can learn some things from, but you'll learn good things and you'll learn bad things. And that's the whole point about going out there and putting yourself in public. If you put your head above the parapet, you will be shot at. As simple as that. You will be shot at. That's part and parcel of having the bollocks to do it. But guess what? Some people are stupid and they think they are dog trainers and they haven't got a clue. And they put it up and they wonder why they haven't got a following. Because they're stupid. They haven't got a clue. You don't become a trainer overnight. Matthew Cloud said you would have a bigger following as the dogs sold in lockdowns who haven't got a clue. Exactly, Matthew, you're dead right. Guess what? They're out there, aren't they? And they're chasing around, listening to the rubbish out there, and they're getting nowhere. I will never, ever not be busy at doing something. I might not have a Patreon site in 10 years. I don't know where technology is going. Look, let's go back 20 years. Oh, let's go back to when I was a kid. Where did you get your knowledge? From school. If your school teacher didn't give a shit, you were in trouble. If your school was useless, you were leaving school without any qualifications. What would you get leaving school in the 70s when there was no jobs around? If you got no qualifications. Training, making videos is easy. Anybody can do that. But making constructive videos that actually educate and help people, but you're being totally honest as well, I'm not interested. Issue is who's going to regulate it. You're dead right, Karen.
Yeah, but it's Houston said, what's your thoughts on regulation of breeders, trainers, pros and cons?
Yeah, exactly. I think it's a waste of time because I think Karen's dead right. Who's going to regulate it? Are we going to let the Kennel Club regulate it for Gundogs? The Gundog section? No, because they say we should only use positive and only positives only. At the end of the day, you've got to go back to that woman's conversation with Ivan, and you've got to say to yourself, hang on, Ivan asked you a simple question. If he trained dogs with discipline and someone trained a dog with affection and positive only, and you put the two dogs together, could you split them and say that one's been trained with discipline and that one's been trained with positive only? And she said, not if it was done by a professional. She's dead right. because a professional doesn't put the problems into the dog. What we have to deal with as a proper gun dog trainer and not a great pretender is sorting out people's problems. And when a behavior is self-rewarding, and like for instance, you've allowed the dog to chase birds, gone hunting with it because it's a gun dog, and you can't, you haven't got the knowledge, or you haven't got the patience to work the dog and train it, and you take it out on a shoot because it's a gun dog, or you take it shooting with a gun and it gets the fun of the bang and the chase and the running in, it's self-rewarding. As soon as the bang goes off, it sends a message to the dog, no different than Linford Christie. I'm off. Right? Go on the bang. We want the dog to go on the bang as a youngster and not fear the bang. But once we've taught the dog what the bang really means, we'd better have the control. As simple as that. She couldn't come into my world and stand a chance, because I do not want my dogs looking at me non-stop for a food. I have enough problem in the corner with the wife who thinks I'm her vending machine. I have to feed her every day. When she was dying of COVID, and you don't believe me, you guys, I kept putting food in front of her and she kept coughing on it, thinking, you're not having it, fat boy. I'm keeping it off your plate because I don't believe in throwing food away. She went thinner and thinner and thinner in 3 days because she's not carrying a lot of weight. And she's not a spring chicken anymore, is she? I'm not going to tell you that she's 67. But at the end of the day, I'm not a spring chicken anymore. I can't do what I used to be able to do when I was like Karen, a bean sprout. I used to be able to chase dogs and have sex for 7 hours a day on top of it. These days, it's only 4 hours a day, and I have to outthink the dog. And so my training has changed slightly, but it's trained for the better, because I've moved from compulsion training, punishment training, whatever you want to call it, right, to learning how to create drives, how to create desire, how to have a dog that is better than everybody else out there in competition. I'm not saying every time you run it, I'm not saying you're going to beat everybody. No, that's not going to happen. There's some great trainers out there. But I enjoyed it when I went to a trial, looked down the card and thought, oh, look, Opie's running. I could name loads of people, but Opie's just stands out from everybody else as a trainer. Well, I used to look at the A-panel judges and think, oh, there's 4 A-panel judges today running a dog, and I was a non-panel judge. I judged, but I wasn't a panel judge. I hadn't gained that club. I hadn't got into that club at that point because I hadn't won. I hadn't made up champions, and I'd won, but I wasn't in the right clique. I know people who were in the clique but didn't make up champions who became A-panel judges, but I wasn't in that clique. What happened when I first started? See what she said? See what she said? Maybe because I didn't brown nose anybody. Well, she's dead right, but she didn't need to say that. That was just being bitchy, wasn't it? If they're listening, they're all going to switch off now. They're all going to fuck off home. I don't care, right? So anyway, what I'm saying is, I've lost my train of thought now because of that cracking joke in the background. Well, it wasn't a joke; it was actually true. You was the black sheep, yeah. But the black sheep has great fun when he beats them A-panel judges with a dog that they go, where the fucking hell did you get that? What breeding it is? And you go, it's my own breeding. I bred it myself. That's when you gain respect. That's when you gain respect. You gain respect from them guys, not by walking around fucking saying I know it all in those early days. You earn it by going out there, and every time you end up on the card, they go, oh, fuck, I've got to beat Upton today. Upton's here. That's the buzz. That's the buzz about trialing. It's not all about winning. It's about beating people, right? It's the same as some people are sports-minded, aren't they? They want to win. And some people go, I'm not in it to win it. I'm in it for the enjoyment. Fuck off. Go away. I'm happy for you. But you ain't going to win on a regular basis with that attitude. You've got to be I've got to have a bit of petrol in your tank, Tony the Tiger. Who remembers Tony the Tiger? Remember that? Tony the Tiger. Esso, wasn't it, if I'm right? They're going to go, what the fuck is he on about, Tony the Tiger? Head down, arse up will win at most things. Exactly. And at the end of the day, I've been having this debate with the group. Give me feedback. If you don't like it, we won't do it. If there's something that you don't really like, we won't do. And two people said, I think two people, unless I've seen other comments, two people actually said, I don't like the bitching about other trainers. Well, don't watch it. Don't watch it. But I enjoy your input. And if everybody in the group said, we don't want you bitching about other trainers, I'm not bitching, I'm educating. If someone goes after me in the big wide world, because I'm not looking for them, I'm not looking for a fight with any trainer who doesn't want to be honest and open. You can disagree with my method of training. I'm not going to go after you. But if you start editing my videos and absolutely rubbishing me for no good reason and using my videos to self-promote yourself, because I get a large following, and if you put Chris Upton at the top of the title, everyone will freaking watch it because they love a car crash, don't they? Then I have a right to fight back. But I also have a right to critique some of these videos, never talked about me, and give my opinion. But I have to give it in an honest, decent way. Else then it becomes really bitchy, doesn't it? Let's just take the guy who's now selling rabbit skins that look like bunny wunnies, your Easter bunny. I've not really mentioned his name that much, but everyone knows I'm talking about Buy Him in Ben, don't we? That's his nickname, Buy Him in Ben. That is a sales technique. He doesn't train the way he shows you, but he's using that to mold it. I'm not saying he doesn't use some of it, but he doesn't use all of it. But he's selling an ideology that will sell and it will be popular on the internet. It's as simple as that. Do you honestly think, let's just ask that question here. Do you honestly think that if you went and bought, I think I put the price up. Does anyone remember what price it was? My head's spinning. Do you remember what price that freaking bunny wunny from, is it Gundog gear or something like that? I mean, did you remember what I wrote the price? Did anyone see the price? Yeah, 50 quid. That was it. I knew it was something like that. Yeah, 50 quid. Let's be honest. Do you honestly think that a rabbit skin that you take off in the field, you cure it like, let's just say Jules shows you, and you put it onto a rabbit skin dummy, or you buy one that's been cured and you wrap that around with a couple of elastic bands? Do you think that is going to be as good as the bunny wunny with a head and fluffy tail to the dog? Or do you think the dog is going to honestly think, oh, that's better, it's got a head and tail, I'll remember that next time I'm freaking chasing one? But I'm not supposed to chase it, am I? What do you think about that? Do you think that's just salesmanship? Do you think that's just a money marketing scam? Or do you think, because let's be honest, it's like saying everybody needs to go and buy a fur coat when you go out in the field, because then they'll think you're part of the countryside. Freaking the world's gone mad.
Is it synthetic or is it a real rabbit skin?
I don't care. I don't care if it's synthetic or real. You could go into a charity shop and you could take somebody's freaking old fur that they've given away, status. You could take it away. You could strip it down into 50 freaking dummies, sew it around a dummy thing, and throw it. Guess what? Everything you use, no matter what it is, will eventually wear out. Even one of Jules' squirrel skins. But the reason that we use a squirrel skin, and tell me if I'm wrong, and Jules the man, and I think he's on here, isn't he?
Yep.
It's like having a rock salmon. They're tough as fuck. They are tough as fuck. The outside, there's no comparison to a rabbit skin. I can rip a rabbit skin open with my fingers. I can't do that with sales. Fluffy, says Graham. Exactly. It's a status. But guess what? If most of your customers are women, beautifully dressed, well-off women whose daddy or boyfriend has given them a Range Rover, you're going to buy fluffy duffy rabbit skin, aren't you? Compared to one of Jules, because it looks like a vibrator, doesn't it? What Jules sends in the post. You get one of them in the post, your husband will say, what are you doing with that? It's all about image, isn't it? With dog training these days, isn't it? It's just a teddy. Exactly, Malcolm. It's just a fucking teddy. The most expensive fucking teddy you've got. You can buy one from fucking Harrods cheaper. But at the end of the day, I'll get crucified by Sporting Saint, whatever it is, who does it. Oh, fucking Upton's having a go. No, I'm not. I'm being fucking totally honest. If you want to go and buy it, I'm advertising it for you. Fuck off. Next person who turns up with one of them fucking rabbits here, they're out the fucking door. No, they're not. I'm going to keep them there for 4 hours because they're obviously fucking gullible. No, I don't do that, do I? That's the whole point. I don't turn people over. I give them value for money. It's all about value for money. But guess what? It's like turning up at a scramble meet with a fucking immaculately clean bike. Daddy's bought it for you. It don't make you the best fucking scrambler. What's the one that's dented and been fucking flung around a fucking few times and put through its paces? That's the guy you're gonna watch when he fucking gets on. Hey? People like fucking Guy sleeping in the back of his van. We were talking about, passion. You know, he's done really well, hasn't he? Publicly, he's on so many different programs, isn't he? But at the end of the day, he used to turn up at meets and sleep in the back of his van. He's a dog. He was a bike man first, wasn't he? That's the whole point. It's like someone said, I love your videos because you're out when you're training in the wet. You're filthy. You're not dressed up in 9 pins. I do on the odd occasion when I'm on an expensive shoot and they've asked me and the etiquette to turn up like that. But I can tell you a story. By him in Ben, when I first was trialing and he was first trialing, I turned up because I didn't hang around with the film stars. I turned up with a freaking dog in an army coat, an army pair of trousers, because I used to get down and get dirty and train dogs and go on shoots beating. I didn't used to go like these posh shoots. I used to go on little tiny shoots, farmers shoots and stuff like that. I learned how to freaking do the business before I went freaking trialing. I could train a dog to a very high standard before I went trialing. When I went trialing, I was a threat. And that cheeky bastard said to me in front of everyone, do you buy all your clothes from army surplus? I could have knocked the little shit out. I could have knocked him out. But guess what? It wouldn't have made me very popular, would it? As I freaking nailed him in the fucking shoot wagon next to freaking 10 people or 15 people all going trialing. They go, freaking hell, he reacted a bit sharp, didn't he? But he got a gob on him. Ben Randall has got a gob on him and he thinks he's something special. I don't put up with shit like that. So then later on in the day or another day on a trial, we're getting in the back of the shoot trailer and he had to climb up the ladder to move on to the next bit of ground. And I had a little bitch that I'd won with, and I think it was an open stake, and he'd got a dog there that he'd won with, and somebody in front of me stumbled, so I had to stop quickly before getting on the shoot bus, and his dog bumped into my dog, but his dog was sniffing the arse of my bitch. She wasn't in season, but it was just a dominant dog. And as he banged into me and at the back of me, I turned around, it was him. And he went, and my bitch went, whack! His dog snapped at his freaking face because the dog was right up her arse. All right, up her fanny, really, if you want to say about it. But I mean, I was trying to be polite. It might have been up her arse. It might have been that sort of dog. I don't know. But anyway, to cut a long story short, he said, what a nasty bitch. At that point, I'd had enough. I turned round to him, looked him directly in the face and said, if you want to see a nasty bitch, carry on the way you're going. He went very, very quiet. Not the sort of big-headed Ben that he's always been. Because sometimes when you challenge them sort of people, they learn that you don't put up with shit. Trust her to be barking in the background just when I'm giving the freaking last bit of that. Because at the end of the day, sometimes I'll say nothing. And I'll just think, what a tosser. But if you're going to keep digging at me, you're going to get a bit back by another dog, especially a dog who can look after himself, right? Who doesn't fear things, right? But that doesn't mean I'm going to fight him on the trial ground unless he wants one. But we go back to the car park. But no, it never reached that stage. But I don't need to put up with shit like that. Nothing wrong with Army Surplus. You're right, Nigel. Army Surplus I've worn over the years because they're brilliant. Some of them coats dry off hell of a fast. I've had the most expensive coats in the world. Not in the world. But I've had the most expensive coats in shooting, and I have not come across a coat that's totally waterproof yet. And I'm going back. I was buying the top of the range stuff when I was trialing, and once I knew that everybody wears all that sort of shit, I thought, okay, then I'll join the fucking cravat gang. You know, fucking walking around with a cravat on. Did it make me a better dog trainer? Did it bollocks? Did it bollocks? I've seen better dog trainers with a dog on a bit of binder cord, sold in fucking market down the farmer's market than them dogs he's had. I'm telling you. But the thing is, you don't make you popular with the Ben Randall gang, and there's plenty of them out there, and they're all going, "Oh, did you see that live feed when Chris Upton bitched Ben Randall?" No, I'm saying it the way it is. You can't call me a liar. Well, he can call me a liar, but it happened, and he knows it happened. And at the end of the day, I think we should have a sit down. We should have a sit down, me and Ben Randall, and I should question him about dog training, and he can question me. Wouldn't that be good, everyone, for the dog training world? He could bring his sales technique and all his freaking toys. I bet if he came to fisticuffs, he would have paid someone to talk. Hang, hang on, Steve. Ben Randall goes down the gym. He's into his rugby. I know he's into his rugby, but I was into my rugby. I think Ben's probably 10 years younger than me. But at the end of the day, I'm too old for fighting. But I'm entitled to my opinion. But guess what? If push comes to shove, we'll see what an old dog can do. I reckon we should do a fucking Tyson Fury Jippo thing, shouldn't we? Bring your dog. Meet you down the back of the alley. Bring your dog. And I think that at the end of the day, I think it'll be entertaining, wouldn't it? Imagine me in the middle of the fucking ring. It'd be like Tyson Fury. Look at the state of Tyson Fury. Brilliant boxer, isn't he? Guess why? Because he don't burn out. Look at Frank Bruno. All that muscle burnt out very, very quickly, didn't he? At the end of the day, just because your body shape might look different, it's what's in the art, isn't it? Honestly, I might not play by Queensberry's rules in the early days, but I didn't lose many fights. Not saying that I'm looking for a fight with anybody. My money would be on Wiz. Not now, Peter. Not now. He's freaking deaf. He'd make me look an idiot. I give him some food. He's in with another dog, and the other dog is a little bit snappy when it comes to food. He doesn't take it gently, and I've not seen him fighting with Wiz, but he pushed Wiz out the way, and Wiz ain't nowhere near as fast as he used to be. Wiz has never been a dominant dog. Never been a dominant dog. And it's the same with people in it. Some people are dominant alpha males, and some people aren't. We're not all the same. I'm glad we're not. I've met some wonderful people in trialing over the years. Don't get me wrong. It's just that when someone comes on the scene who wants to pull the wool over people's eyes, I have a right to talk about them. I have a right to talk about them. He spoke about me. He spoke about me years and years ago. So all's fair in love and war, but as long as you tell the truth. If you lie and try and rubbish somebody with lies, then that's totally wrong, in my opinion. That's totally wrong. But yeah, grab your popcorn, Malcolm. Grab your popcorn. It would be entertaining, wouldn't it? But I think dog trainers should talk with each other more. I think professional dog trainers should sit down in a controlled environment with two bouncers on each shoulder, like they do with the boxers. And if they want to call you out, then the boxers they can stand in, can't they? No, I don't want the fucking bouncers. Don't need the bouncers. I'll meet you anywhere. But the whole idea of it is I think we should be able to sit down, debate things in a rational way. And I think Ben Randall should say, "Oh, you use a place board. You use a place board. Anybody who uses a place board don't know how to train a dog. I've never heard such shit in my life. But I don't use the place board like Ian Openshaw uses the place board. And yet why not? Because he's the best trainer out there. Because what he's selling is what he wants to sell. I'm saying the way I do it. If you don't like it, don't do it. It's as simple as that. Dude, back to Garrett, and honestly, he's really loving this. Please tell me what she said was worth her criticizing on paying attention to those that use adversaries that might make them think otherwise. Sorry. Dude, back to Garrett and Ivan. Please tell me what she said was worth her criticizing and paying attention to those that use adversaries. Yeah, okay. Good question. Great question. Because I'm dyslexic, sometimes it takes me a little bit longer to grasp what you want. I had to read it twice.
You said earlier.
Hang on. See what I'm saying? I'm on a roll. Now she wants to come in and get involved. Come on, darling. Say it, and then I'll freaking have to start all over again.
What you said earlier. At what point did Ivan push back hours on the back foot and made her question the assertions in regard to fallouts of punishment. I must have dipped out before then.
Right, so now she's confused me completely because my head was full of what I wanted to say next. Now my head is running in that direction, in that direction, in that direction, and I don't know how to answer your question. That's what happens to a dyslexic person when one person over there is going, yeah, 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 and one person over there is going, yeah, yeah, yeah. And yet she did nothing wrong over there. It's just that my brain doesn't work like that. So I'm going to read it again, and I'm going to go through exactly what you asked me and not what she thinks. Okay.
I'm saying what you said.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
He says, "You're good, Chris. Take your time, mate. I appreciate you."
No problem at all. Dude, back it in the garage on Ivan. Please tell me what you said about worth criticizing or paying attention to those that use adversaries that might make them think otherwise. Right. So she was talking about that she came from the same camp as what I do. So to win competition, I wasn't using positive and positive only. She wasn't using positive and positive only, and she had success. She was world champion in her sport. Right. I think it was fly ball, maybe agility. But you'd have to. I think that's what the thing was. Now that dog for fly ball doesn't need to have much control other than mustn't break until it's sent. So there's very small amount of control. Agility. So yeah, agility. But you definitely talked about agility as well. So with agility, you need the dog to run round and not make any mistakes, not knock things off. And so if you punish dog for knocking things off, the dog's going to think about it and not be as fast. So if you can do it through gameplay and positive and treats and follow the hand and build drive, then you're going to have a better dog on the day than everybody else. Because if a dog has to think about certain things, it's going to hesitate. It's going to think, am I going right? Will I be corrected if I go wrong? So she's really right with that. And Ivan can pick that up and understand that, and so can I, and so can many people that who have been in the game for a while and been successful with competition dogs. The simple thing is, like I keep saying to people, if you use discipline and overuse it, you will destroy drive. But if you use discipline and know how to use it, you can actually create more drive. But I don't think they went into that enough because I think because she's dyslexic like me, we ramble. We go on. And I think Ivan let her ramble too much. And hang on, I'm going to have to come back to you on that. I'm still talking. Jesus Christ. I love his questions. I really love his questions. Is he freaking dyslexic? Is he freaking OCD on things? And that's the problem with people's minds. I'm not being funny, not making excuses. If you look at somebody with sort of, not mental health issues, but the way their brain thinks different, people approach things differently. So I'll go to sleep and think about something for 4 or 5 hours on something, wake up and write something, and other people will just fucking go to sleep and not even think about it. It will go over their head. We all handle information differently. Some people love in-depth stuff. Other people, Michael Mocker says, flyball is not agility and not hunting protection. Not much more control required for hunting and protection. Exactly, you're dead right, Michael. But she has a massive point on what she's saying, because if you're skillful, you don't have to use so much discipline. You have to use more discipline if you put mistakes into dogs. If you don't put the mistakes into the dogs, you actually give very little discipline if you know what you're doing. So she's actually right. But what she didn't say, she wasn't totally honest. And Ivan didn't press the buttons. That he'd already got a script in front of him, the questions he wanted to ask her. But as soon as she went tits up, he didn't attack, did he? And I give him credit for it in a way, because he didn't want it to be a bitch fight. And she had the decency to come on. But I would question the motive why she come on. She doesn't need to talk to Ivan. She doesn't need to even get involved in that. She's so successful what she does. But I give her credit. She came on and had a debate. If Ivan and freaking idiot bollocks, and I'm being honest, Zach George, it would be a freaking shit show. It would be a shit show. It would be a comedy of errors. But at least with her, a lot of what she was saying, we use, but we don't run around telling everybody about it because it's common. And she thinks like she invented the wheel. She didn't. What she's done, she's learnt to manipulate the system to win. That's what they do in trialing. You only have to have that dog under each judge for 10, 15 minutes, if you're lucky. If you get a judge who's bent, he'll run you on for 3/4 of an hour until your dog starts to flag and dry up with its hunting a little bit. If there's no ground, if there's no game there, it's unscented ground. And he'll say, that's enough of you, mate, because your dog's freaking not really hunting hard. Where some of the film stars, they'll only have a 5-minute hunt, 10-minute hunt. And to win a trial, technically, you only need a 10-minute under each judge with game there, with a dog that's driven. Because when you cast him off, the judge fucking doesn't stand there smoking or looking around like bored. He's having to keep up with you and the dog, hunting like a demon. That's going to turn his juices on if he's a good dog man and go, I'm looking for the best hunting dog today. Freaking hell, this thing is special. Oh, I love this. There's nothing finer except a naked woman. That's the only thing I can say is finer. Now, I've got to be very careful here because I went to the doctors today, and I spoke to 2 ladies in the chemist when I picked up some prescription, and I said, thank you, girls. And one of them gave me the dirtiest fucking look I've ever seen. Now, call me old school, but to me, they look like 2 women. I may have been wrong, but you've got to be very careful what you say these days, don't you? And that's the problem with dog training. If you criticize everybody and you don't analyze it, or you don't know what you're analyzing, you miss a bigger part of it. And so going back to, he says, what do you think of Gary Wilkes' opinion on the dog getting averted through injury just through the game itself? See, what do you think of Gary Wilkes' opinion on the dog getting adversives through injury just through the game itself? Well, Gary Wilkes is very, very deep. But I think Gary says a lot of things because he likes to create that division. But if you look at what Gary does, he's very clever with it. And sometimes I read some of Gary's stuff and I think, freaking hell, that is so like deep. I grasp some of it, but not all of it. I wish I could grasp everything he says, but I don't grasp everything he says because he's a lot more highly educated academically than me. And so if you said to me, I want you to give me the 4 quadrants, I'm going to give you my opinion about the 4 quadrants. I have an understanding of the 4 quadrants, but then Gary would pull me to fucking pieces and go, yeah, but this is that, and that is this, and that is that. Fine, no problem. I got on all right without the 4 quadrants, without knowing too much about it. Am I interested in it? Yeah. Do I study it? Yeah. Can I memorize it? No. My mind, I keep stuff. Like I say to people, my brain is only so big. I can only store so much. But I do take in as much as I can, and I keep the bits that I think are important, and other bits I might just let out a little bit. I might need time to explain that better to you, Chris. I don't have enough letters to expand here to do it. Exactly. So what I'm saying is, if somebody asks me a question like that, I'm not saying I can't answer it, but I might not give you the answer that I want to give you because I might not read it like perhaps you're asking. Let's just take this. I can tell you, and I'm not talking behind anybody's back. Me and Gary have conversations in private. I personally like that because I think I'm privileged for a man of his knowledge and his skill to be able to talk to me in private. I think that's a privilege, and I get this as well with people talk to me on the phone and say the same thing. They say, not, I'm not being big-headed here. They say, I can't believe I'm talking to that bloke who I've watched hundreds and hundreds of his videos and know what he's talking about. And I find that humbling when people say it's like I'm talking to a film star. They're not talking to a film star. They're talking to a normal guy who trains dogs. And I'm nothing special. But at the end of the day, I feel that I'm privileged that Gary takes his time. And I've said some funny, humorous stuff to Gary, and he's not bitten. And sometimes he's come back and said I'm wrong on more serious stuff, and I've not actually got that right, and he's explained it, and I can take that on board open-heartedly and learn, because I don't agree with everything he says, but I would probably agree with 95%. But there's probably, when I say 95, probably 80%, but there's probably 10% I'm slightly confused with what he says, and I want to learn more. That's why I follow Gary. I follow Gary because I think he's a Gary is the Keith Erlinson of the Gundog world. I mean, Gary Wilkes talks about a Gundog trainer over in America that he really rates. I'm not going to mention the guy's name. I'm not going to be judgmental in that way, but I don't quite rate the guy as much as Gary rates him. I've watched his stuff. He's a good trainer. He's been successful, been around for a long, long time. But he does things that I just think is old-fashioned. But proved himself. That doesn't mean I got to agree with everything that Gary says. But I can guarantee this. When someone takes the time to talk to you in private, like he does with me, and like I say, what happens in private normally stays in private, unless I just bring a little snippet out for someone. Unless someone shits on me, that's a different kettle of fish. But if I actually flashed up on the screen the amount of people who are very good at what they do in the Gundog world and what I actually talk about, it would open people's eyes big time. I'm respected for what I do. That doesn't mean I'm the best at what I do. That's the whole point about being a dog trainer. What Gary Wilkes has been through in his career with dogs, and the willingness to put his head on the chopping block and say, I use a bonk towel, and the slagging off he gets, but he still stands with it. I'm 100% with a bonk towel. I don't care if I lost half the trainers that speak to me because of my approach about the bonk towel. I've used the bonk towel. I know how to use the bonk towel. And I also promote people like Larry Crone, don't I? I promote dog trainers, and I've promoted dog trainers in the past, and then I've watched them, and they've got sillier and sillier and sillier on the internet, and I just don't even fucking talk about them anymore. Why? I might in private to someone, but I don't publicly. Why? Because I do not want people to think I'm better than them. I'm just not interested in the salesman bullshit. Right? I wonder if I had CUNT written across my head, whether it would make me more popular as a gun dog trainer, as a tattoo, a great big black tattoo, CUNT. Well, I'm not going to tell you what it stands for, but you'll have to work that one out yourself. But it could be Chris Upton and then something else. You don't know. But if you read CUNT, would you think knob? It's gone very quiet. Chris, I think you'll really undersell yourself. The masters of the trade are not the intellectuals. They are the people who particularly demonstrate the master of their skills, and if they are to their peers. I think you're dead right in some way there, Michael, but academically, I wish I was better. I wish that I didn't need to spend so much time reproofing something, a paragraph or an essay that I write and want to put up for everyone to see. I wish it would flow better. I wish I had a deeper intellectual understanding, but we can't. I'm not up for Captain Wilkes or anyone. Just pay attention to what resonates, and I'm doing which comes as a reading what I read with what you put. You obviously know quite a bit in your own head. You obviously, some of the things you're saying, I'm understanding, but actually, it's like listening to a freaking. It's like listening to a professor, and give it everybody in layman's terms, simple format, and we can agree or not agree. But if it's like academics, they throw the Bible at you, or they throw the dictionary at you, and it's like, hang on, I got to freaking decipher this shit before we work it out. And I think that's what Michael says. That's what Michael means. it's easier if you give it in such layman's terms. It doesn't mean I won't understand you. It's just I'm going to have to literally put everything down in my head and concentrate on what you're saying. And I haven't seen you on here before. Well, I'm not being rude because I've probably dealt with fucking 60, 70 people today. Are you the guy who came on and made comments on the video and said that why was I praising it? Are you the guy? Are you the guy? Did we have a chat on the Gary not the Gary Wilkes video, the Ivan and what's the name video that I put up on YouTube? And I'm not being rude. I'm like I said, I'm dyslexic, and you're not somewhat praising Gary. Yes, exactly. So yeah, so we had a discussion, and you said I don't know why you gave her praise. I explained to you on that, and it's there for people to see. I stand by what I say, and obviously you have an understanding, but I don't know you from Adam, other than you gave a question on there, and I read it as if like you were saying that I put the title up on purpose. I put the title up because I knew it would be slightly misleading. When I said slightly misleading, yeah, no, I'm not being rude to you at all, honestly. When I said slightly misleading, I wanted it to create a little bit of interest. And sometimes a car crash creates interest. And I think in some ways that interview was a car crash, like you say. But who did it do good to? It didn't do good to her, to the people who know what they're talking about. But the people who don't know what they're talking about, I don't think Ivan did us any favors in that conversation, because he could have gone for the jugular at the right moment, but he didn't, because he's trying to have polite conversation. And if you don't have polite conversation, no one's going to listen. But I'm not worried about polite conversation with certain people. If you want to be offensive, I can be offensive. I'm not talking about you in any way. I'm talking about if someone wants to come into my world and start bitching about me and telling me that I don't know what I'm talking about, I would have got into that a lot deeper, because what she was really saying, wasn't she? Anybody who uses discipline is a dinosaur. And you don't know how to train dogs because you haven't took the time to learn. I disagree. But I do agree with so much of what she said. And answer this question. You've got some knowledge. I can tell you've got knowledge with what you're saying, but you found it boring, listening all the way through it, or 3/4 of the way through it, what you did. You imagine what some of my more novice people did. They just freaking switched off from it. So who won? No one. If you put it up in layman's terms, I've put other stuff up and they've gone, love that, learnt from that, because I think it's about sharing what you see, what you view. And not everybody's got 2.5 hours, 3 hours to listen to that. 95% V, 5% is an excellent concept. Yes, if you get 95 correct, you only need 5%, but you need 5% to get right. Frickin' hell, honestly. Have you been... There you go, look. I know nothing. There you go. Let's talk about religion, shall we? Because one of the greatest talkers that I've ever listened to, Christopher Hitchens, unfortunately he's died. His brother is an intellect, but I don't find him half as interesting to listen to. And I used to listen to Christopher Hitchens. Let's take Jordan Peterson. I used to listen to Jordan Peterson and think, frickin' hell, that guy. And he is. He's a genius. But he's slightly frickin' screwed as well. And yeah, hitch that on the way me thinks. Exactly. And I could listen to Christopher Hitchens because he could win over the crowd. He had a way about him, a persona about him that could hold an audience and have you fixated on him. He was a master in his knowledge, his skill. Now, if you listen to some of the things that he talked about, some great people who've done some unbelievable good stuff in the world that he discredit like crazy. Let's just take Mother Teresa, for instance. Don't realize how controlling and how she promoted herself for what she wanted. She might have been good in some areas. We could talk about, I could mention many of people that he would actually talk about, he's written about, Let's talk about Clinton. Let's talk about so many of American politicians who've done well, but actually unbelievable. And the whole point of it is that is debate, and I will listen to that for hours. But I'm not on the same wavelength as them academically. But I love debate. I love listening. But I have my own thought patterns, and the two brothers both are good at what they do, but one I can switch off from and not listen to. The other one I'm focused on. I'm focused on. And if you were in the Gundog world and you were lucky enough to meet someone like Keith Erlinson, like I was privileged enough to meet somebody who won the championship with a number of times, wrote a number of brilliant books, talked about the bent politics about the sport, talked about how to train a dog. It was like listening to a wise owl. It was like listening to Merlin in Camelot, right? Now, you could say, yeah, but Merlin wasn't real, Chris. Well, he was, wasn't he? Because King Arthur said to Merlin, I can never understand what a woman is thinking. And he says, don't worry about it. They don't do it all the time. He was dead right, because they don't think like we think. That's not being degrading towards women. And what did Merlin say? Just love her. If you love her and you treat her right, she's going to love you back if you're a decent person. If you treat her like shit, she's going to fucking run off with the next bloke down the road, isn't she? I can't blame her, really. I don't know why Sue ain't gone yet. But like Sue can understand me because I'm basic. But I'm also deeply complicated as well. Fucking hell, he's loving this, isn't he? Chris, on an earlier comment in this thread, I said, was that people like yourself are way above the academics who study in the sterile environment? Please don't discredit yourself. I'm not discrediting myself at all. Thanks for that comment. I'm not at all. I'm not offended with anything you've said. I'll sit and have a chat with. You know, I was on the phone the other day for 2 hours. I didn't charge anyone anything. We were on our live feed the other day, and one of our trainers who has come up through the ranks, and now I promote him as a trainer. He went and helped somebody, and they gave him £10 tip. Not going to say who it was. He might not want us to take to the world. He gave him a £10 tip on top of his hourly fee. He had an hour's training with him, and he explained that he'd been to a positive-based trainer and had a Skype call. Now, because I'm dyslexic, I don't want to get this wrong. How much did he pay for the Skype call for 1 hour, Sue?
I think it was something like 380 or something like that. Wasn't it? Was that a lot of
£380 for a Skype call for an hour discussing dog training. We've all got to earn a living. I understand that I undersell myself, but I do undersell myself, but I enjoy what I do. And I sit down for many an hour with people talking for no charge. And there's people on here can say that. I think if you spend your money in my group and you put the commitment to give me a monthly payment, I will give you as much attention as I can within reason, because I'm a one-man band. You would not believe how much I talk about dogs. On the odd occasion, I like to talk about other subjects as well. But some people in the group don't want me talking about anything other than dogs. Wouldn't life be boring if everything was dogs? Everything. And I would say that 90% of my life is dogs. But the 10% that I switch off and do other things, back to that same thing what we were talking about, I like listening to intelligent people. I like filling my head with knowledge and understanding. But I find it therapeutic listening to other people and not just dog training and dog psychology all the time, because you can overload your head. How many academics have burnt out and cooked their brains and running around in circles because they followed the academics, who all in science change their mind after a certain while? One of the things that was said the other day, what was really, really funny, we've 1 hour and 20 minutes, you bastards. I'm only supposed to be on here for an hour. You've had me tonight. You've had extra. One of the things they said is, like, in that conversation with Ivan and her, she said her book, and someone was saying, yeah, but you talk about a lot of discipline in your book. She says, yeah, but I wrote that in the I don't know when she wrote it, going back 10, 15, 20 years, whatever it was. And she said, that's when I used to use that. What? And you had success? Yeah. Well, you had success with it, so don't slag it off too much. But no, she's obsessed now with only positive, and only positive doesn't work. We know it doesn't work. But I understand why she does what she does, but she's mis-selling. And by mis-selling, I can see right through it. And that's the whole point. Put it up, show us. That's why we say, never mind the bollocks, show us your dog. We're not interested in the claptrap. We're not interested in the science too much. And when I say too much, I really like in-depth following of dog training. I like looking at it, but it doesn't mean that it's going to make me a particular. Let's just take a prong collar. You can't tell me that a prong collar is not a negative. But I can tell you, I've seen dogs pulling so much on a ordinary lead that they're choking themselves stupid, and they'll mess up the trachea, right? What's more cruel, the prong collar or the idiot who's letting the dog pull and pull and pull? But I never even used to even do heel work with a dog until it's 12 months of age. Why? Because I don't want to suppress the drive. Exactly the same as what she's doing. You're ignoring that behavior for 12 months. But I know one thing, at 12 months old, when it's a little bit older and I want to give a correction, I can give it a correction. It'll freaking learn from it very quickly and not pull me. And how do I know I can get that and do that? It's because I've been training people with problem dogs for 30, 40 years. And if someone comes into me with a dog that's pulling like crazy, within 5 minutes, I can make a dog walk with me. That doesn't make me a special dog trainer, does it? Fucking hell. That cough in the background, I thought she had COVID again. It doesn't make me a brilliant dog trainer, but guess what? To a novice person who's been pulled around like a freaking lunatic for 12 months with a young dog, they go, wow, that's magic. We've got professional, well, people who are charging now in our group as trainers, showing videos of that, and the owners are thinking, wow, that's magic. But to someone who's been doing it for a long time, that's not magic. It's just mundane, boring shit, isn't it? But guess what? It looks lovely. And when you see the face on these people who have paid thousands of pounds to idiots with cheese, then they go, bloody hell, why didn't they show me that? Because they don't know how to do it. They don't know how to. It didn't affect the dog. It didn't make the dog never want to hunt with them or walk a heel. It's a self-rewarding behaviour with pulling, isn't it? So anyway, so this is getting on in it. I bet you've all cleared off by now.
Yeah, but Michael McLaughlin's got one very, very important question.
Michael says, and on that point, what's your spread on Scotland versus world number ones? Michael. Thank fuck we can talk about something in other dog training. Michael, I was so freaking disappointed at half time with Scotland because they'd been on the line twice and not quite got over. They were neck and neck with them, although they were struggling a little bit at one point. And I said, don't panic, everyone. They're going to come back. And I was, I think, 3 points from away from having a big payout because I had Scotland to come back in the second half and I had the right score other than 3 points away. I was jumping out my seat. I was having a wonderful, wonderful time watching that rugby. It's like horse racing, Michael. I gamble, but guess what? I'm not a gambler like other people. I can put 10 quid on a horse, sit there and watch the race, shout at the telly. Sue says I'm mental. They're not going to run any faster. I can shout at the telly. I can ride the freaking thing home on the settee. And if it comes second, but I had a good race, I don't mind losing my tenner. If my horse isn't even in it, or it's going backwards, I'm not getting excited. I'm just thinking, what a waste of a freaking tenner. But I enjoy the buzz of the gamble. But I enjoy the racing. I can thoroughly enjoy the skill of the jockey, the quality of the horse, and the rugby that Scotland are playing at the moment. Oh, it makes a man who's followed them for 25 years and gone through depression since Gavin Hastings. Now I'm going back some freaking time when Gavin was God. Scott Hastings, Gavin Hastings. Remember them? Remember them boys? It was fantastic. I would have no surprise that they did beat them. I'm not joking. But it depends on the magic of one man. If he gets it right, the team are brilliant. The team without him, I think, would struggle. But the team are backing him, and it's majestic. I put on my Scottish top and I beat my chest as if I had ginger hair and I liked haggis. Anyway, on that note,
Michael says, so what's your spread? I think it might just be epic.
I think it will be epic. I'm with you on that one, Michael.
And Eustanos says, I'm new to this live chat stuff. Apologies, Chris, and others in the chat if I monopolise time.
You haven't, not at all. But because I'm dyslexic, if you can break it down in layman's terms and ask me the questions, I can come back here. I could probably answer those questions in private, but what's happening is I'm trying to read the screen. I'm trying to put it across to people, and thanks for joining in. I did say to you, I suggested to you that we're over here on the live feed and we'll be talking about this subject. I actually gave you the heads up that we'll be talking about that, and we haven't actually had that much of a laugh tonight. Sometimes, if you came in here some days, you might just turn off and go, the bloke's a frigging nutter. He's talking about shit. If they don't want to talk about dogs, if they don't want to talk about dogs on here, we do talk about other things. In our group over on Patreon, we're more serious about dog training, and that's where we do a lot of our dog training. I would like this on a Wednesday night to be more dog training related, but I'm running with the group. The amount of people in the group who love a bit of banter, a bit of conversation. When we had the lockdown, this was so valuable for people's mental health state that we had like-minded people who could communicate with each other. And I think Michael McLaughlin was one of the people who said it, how important it was for people's mental state when we had lockdown. We've had a lot thrown at us, haven't we, in the last 3 years, really, with the COVID, and we've had what's the name, flu, haven't we? Bird flu and different things. And at the end of the day, I just got to say that without the people in the group that we have this chat, I wouldn't be on here. It's as simple as that. And if other people who are not in the group want to come on and chat, then it's there for a minute. No problem at all. So on that note, and as you can see, look at Christopher Upton. He would normally drink a bottle of wine there. He hasn't even drunk half a bottle of wine. And look how much he's got in his cup. Now, if we're talking about dog training, glass. See, I'm always having to be freaking corrected from her in the background. Why have we been together so long? Because she knows it all. Good night, all. Chris Upton signing off. For the guys who just wanted to laugh, I'm sorry for tonight. They've gone to bed, see, some of them. Good night, all. Chris Upton signing off.